Good evening. I hope you had a wonderful Tuesday. This is a landmark day. Not only was this the 100th school day for the Chicago Public Schools. Did you all celebrate, son, at Kenwood?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, we celebrated at our grammar school. And also, this is an important day because this is a week before an election, a major election here in Chicago. We're going to place our new mayor in office, even though there'll probably be a runoff. And Romans 13, I promise you, has something to do with this. I do not pre-read. It's all ordained by God. I happened to be watching a debate that was covered yesterday with Public Broadcasting, PBS, and that's Chicago Tonight. And they had 5 candidates. And if you don't know anything about these candidates, then you're like, what is she talking about? But Suzanne Mendoza's Daily, there's another Daily. We've had so many dailies in Chicago. Dr. Willie Wilson, Tony Preckwinkle, and Paul Vallis. Okay, so we have, I think, over 15 candidates. And I don't know if you are like me. I'm like, okay, Lord, who? And it just so happens Romans 13, like I said, it is a foundation of how God said that he ordained government and order. In fact, in verse 1 of chapter 13 says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. So he ordained this structure. Now, he might not have, put the actual people in place. They might have put themselves in place, but know that government is ordained of God. And in verse 4, it likens the government to a servant or a minister. And it says in verse 4, for he, the government, is a minister of God to thee for good. The government should be blessing others, right? The citizens of a town, a country, whatever. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he or she beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. So that's why they have these protocols, so that there will be some semblance of, right, decorum and respect and order. And so these are old words. It's ordained by God. It's to have some type of order. It's not to be opposed, the structure itself. And in verse 8, talks about the citizens, like how we're supposed to pay taxes. In verse 7, actually, it says, render therefore to all their dues. As far as the government, we're to pay tribute to those in office and to, support the land, to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. We're supposed to, put these all in place. And the next verse is saying, guess what? We're not to owe anyone anything except to love one another. And this is how to live peacefully and peaceably in your neighborhood, in your community, in your town, your city, your state, in your country, in the world system, right? To love one another, to look out for one another. This is all of God. And that is mentioned in verse 9, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. For verse 10, love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is a fulfilling of the law. So these are things, attributes that we need to keep in mind when we are going to the polling place. Who really exhibits these attributes so that they will be looking out for the greater good, loving a neighbor and really cultivating that mindset and having the business acumen. Remember, the previous chapter was saying that we're not to be slothful in business, but fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. And that's in verse 11. Well, we want that for our politicians and servants in the government. Amen. And this is the last 2 old words, order, right? It's ordained by God. We are to put off some things and put on some things. Off. And what are we to take off? In verse 12, it says, therefore cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. We're supposed to be, right, the light of the world, the salt, right? We're the ones are the game changers. Amen. And we're to walk honestly. Think about the politicians, the ones who are honest, who are not rioting, wild parties, drinking. We've had so many scandals in city council here in Chicago. Affairs and all that. No, we want ones who, in verse 14, they put on, right? You take off that craziness and you put on, in verse 14, put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provision of the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof and the selfishness. So many people are in it for themselves, having 3 positions and 3 pensions and all that. No, we are to look out for one another and to put people in place that will glorify God and help each other. All right. I hope you have a good evening. Be mindful and watch these debates. Good night.